So welcome everybody to the 2017 Summer Institute. We're here at the district office working on some instructional strategies for the upcoming school year. One of the first things that we discussed was the UDL, the Universal Design for Learning. Talked about the benefits about something like that, universal design, great program to kind of introduce into the classrooms. The idea is to represent learning in multiple ways. Every child we know learns differently, so it's nice to create learning instruction plans that meets the needs of all our students. So before we kind of get into a little bit more of that, just curious to see how you guys felt about that UDL experience and how you think it would be beneficial in the classroom. Anybody have any suggestions or ideas?
Well, I think that most definitely the one-size-fits-all model, it doesn't work. So UDL, like you mentioned before previously, it gives us ideas as to how to differentiate between students and their abilities, the capabilities, where they are, give us like entry points as to, teach to the student where on the level where they are, and then try and drive them to where we kind of want them to be. Like we've been discussing that pretty much the entire time about getting the students where they need to be, but also accessing them where they are presently.
No, I really like that idea. I like what you're saying. How are some different ways that we might be able to assess students to kind of figure out where they're at, kind of where is our entry point? Any ideas about that?
Well, we talked about formative assessments. Using those, just maybe 2 or 3 quick questions just to see where our students are, and then from there we can differentiate if we need to do a remedial group or maybe a small group, teacher-led, and then some independent student groups, station activities. So
one thing going back to what Monte said is I liked the fact that we need to be more aware of the type of learner that children are, the tactile, the visual, the auditory, and that takes time. And so I think the station activities sometimes can help more with that, giving all kids the equal or the fair opportunity to learn at their own learning style.
No, those are all great ideas, and it really sounds like what you guys are saying is that when we differentiate instruction, the first thing we need to kind of figure out is what type of learners we actually have in our classrooms. So once we figure that out, we can definitely figure out the best way to kind of meet their needs, and this way they could reach the success that they all deserve. So really sounds great. One of the other things that we discussed here at the Summer Institute was standards-based instruction, and it's one of the things that is truly important, especially as it relates to FSA scores and EOCs and those different types of things. We want to try to have teachers base their instruction on the actual standards, understand what it is that they're actually going to teach. We want to try to move away from the idea of using the textbook to kind of drive our instruction. So we talked a little bit about these 2 weeks, looking at the standards for each one of our classes, kind of unpacking them and determining the best way to teach them. So again, just wanted to kind of hear your guys' feelings about that standard-based instruction and maybe some ways that you could bring that back to your classrooms.
I feel like it's been really helpful for me. Just with Nancy and I looking at one area that we found, it was with the mean absolute deviation, that that's
there's a gap in the book.
There's a gap. There's a total gap, and also with the triangles. Mm-hmm. And you guys gave us the rule for the triangle sides, and that's a gap. And if we had not really been looking at the standards and looking at the item specs for that, then we would have continued to have that gap. So that's definitely something that I'm going to bring back for next year and make sure that I'm looking at that frequently.
Yeah, no, absolutely, great point, because those gaps in the textbook are really, I think, what's missing throughout the math curriculum, and this way teacher will kind of have a better understanding.
Not only the gaps in the textbook, but the gaps between what they are not able to get into the previous year, and the textbook then is assuming that they know that, and that's something, and the one we happened to be one that we have to kind of rush at some point in the year to get it in. So one year we may get to it the next year, but now we know that this is something that actually they're not even exposed to in the textbook.
Right.
They were exposed in 6th grade to it, and they just expect them to know it, and so we're not prepared to teach teach it, and they never get to that.
And also, like Lisa was saying about the curriculum map, that's kind of what should drive the instruction. And as like you were saying, as we were going through the curriculum maps, we noticed that it doesn't follow the textbook. And we have to understand, and I guess like what you were saying, that you were, kind of stressing among us teachers that we should not teach the book, because the book is not designed according to the standards. The book is designed according to the book. So we need to develop our own resources, and not to say that the book is, the book has no value,
Right.
but we have to find the value in the book and in the resources there, and we may have to look outside of the book, like you were saying, in order to get the resources and follow the curriculum maps that will best prepare our students for what we expect of them.
And that holds into the UDL, because the textbook is not designed around the universal design for learning.
Right.
It's just basically something here, here's some problems for a resource for you. It's a resource. It's not necessarily a learning map,
Right.
type of learning.
It also goes to the importance of the collaboration part, because on our own, we didn't catch it,
Right.
but working collaboratively, we caught it. And I think that brings in another important part, is how that piece is so important for us.
Yeah, no, you bring up the collaboration, which is obviously a huge piece of the puzzle, and one of the main reasons why we're here today is to kind of create collaborative tests for all our middle school math classes. As it relates to the UDL, one of the important aspects of the UDL was the backward design, kind of having a roadmap or a blueprint of what it is or where it is that you're supposed to go, or where it is that you want to go before you actually go ahead and plan to get there. So one of the things that we did these last 2 weeks is make common assessments that are now going to be mandatory for teachers at all our schools to give. Again, just wanted to hear your guys' opinions about that, and how you feel it's going to go, or how you feel it's going to be implemented in the classroom.
Well, I'm hoping that most of the professionals kind of understand what we were doing, what the importance of it, and how it was designed according to the curriculum maps, and that it's basically a tool. It's just another tool that is designed by the district that we created, but it's designed by the district for us to be able to gauge our students and give us an alternative plan as to, okay, this is where they are, they're taking this assessment, these are the things that they did not, score proficiently on. So what areas where you come in, what areas can you help us to move the students to a place to where we want them to be?
That's a really good point.
I think, go ahead, Lisa.
I think too that it is so important to be able to have the access to that test, so that you can then from there plan, what are you going to be teaching, what are the best ways to teach this, and it's specifically to the standards, not, well, the book says we're supposed to be doing this.
Right.
So I think that's really important. And I like the part too that even with the curriculum map is, I know that if I have a student that's transferred from Storm Grove, we should be in the same place. There should not be any gaps between what the students, they learn something
Right.
out of order from, or we're doing something out of order. So I think that benefits our students greatly in our district.
And piggybacking on that, I like the fact that all teachers, all students are taking the same test.
Yes.
We may teach different styles, but those students, these tests, we worked long and hard on these tests.
Yeah, we did.
And I feel very confident that we vetted them, they're with the specs, they're with the students, and they are leveled. There's a fair amount of level 1s, 2s, and 3s, but the students will all be challenged at the same levels, and one teacher may make a different type of test than the other, but that's what I'm liking about this. Across the district, it's more valid data, in my opinion.
And I think to go with what Nancy's saying too, is it also gives us an opportunity to look at the data after the students have taken it, and then come back and say, what do I need to reteach? What are you doing doing differently because your kids scored, awesome
On the same test.
What are
Right.
you
On the
doing
same
differently?
question.
So it gives us that opportunity.
No, those are all great points, and I think that is definitely the most beneficial part of that common assessment is the sharing of data. That data that we get is so beneficial because it is really comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges. And the greatest thing of education is being able to collaborate with each other. We get great ideas from everybody, and this way, just like you said, we could share those ideas. What is it that you did well to help your children with ratios and proportions? What did you do well to help your kids solving equations? And really, as a whole, I think that's definitely going to make us better. The other thing that you guys pointed out, which I thought was really, really great, is it sounds like that there's not just going to be collaboration amongst the teachers in the school, but it's also going to be collaboration amongst the teachers in the entire district. So if kids do move from school to school, everybody's going to be on the same pace. Everybody's going to be in the same place. Everybody's assessing at the same time or assessing, the same thing. Looking at it, how do you guys feel about the flexibility of this curriculum map? Do you feel that it's too rigid? Do you feel that there is still some flexibility in it? How do you feel that teachers might kind of react? Because remember, they're going to be seeing this curriculum map and these common assessments for the first time.
Well, it depends on how the district rolls it out, because basically I think from our understanding, there's going to be windows when we have to give certain tests. So in that aspect, the curriculum maps are pretty rigid. Right? There's no deviating. If you have to give the test within this time frame, then you got to teach those standards, or your students will not be exposed to the.
You want a prize.
Congratulations. We also get prizes here.
Right. The students won't be exposed to the information they're being taught. So in that aspect, I think it is pretty rich as far as that. But I don't think that should be a problem, because that's just a model to follow. And once you start getting into the curriculum, there are other things that you got to start differentiating. Now you may be able to expand upon certain standards that some other teachers may have to spend a little bit more time on. But as far as the curriculum, I think it's rigid, but I don't think it's necessary.
I think it keeps us focused on where we need to be also. It keeps us, okay, we have 4 weeks to teach, rational numbers. Instead of, okay, well, I'm going to take 5 weeks or 6 weeks and then something else you'll get to later. So for me, I think it's going to keep me more focused. So I think
We
that's
may
important.
be able to. I think one of the things that's going to be the scariest, but what teachers, if it's going to be a grade, and they really, right now, the money that's been spent for us to create these tests is something that is going to have to be put into action out there, and so I don't think they have a choice. It is daunting when you look at some of the curriculum maps versus some of the others, because there are a lot of standards, like for instance in 7th grade, and I know there's a lot of standards in algebra. But what happens is they're going to be able to treat these in their classroom, I believe, more individually than they feel like they're going to be. You just have that window for testing, but you can always retest, and so I think, like Monte said, how it's rolled out, but in the long run, I think it will be, like I said before, more valid data for the teachers.
I think it's going to be kind of exciting to see how it all plays out this time next year. When we're looking at students across the district taking these assessments, and we're not putting in all level 1 questions.
Right.
So how are our students going to benefit from this when we see FSA scores next year? We should see 80s, we should see these, because we're going to be used to that type of testing.
Absolutely. So it does sound like there is some flexibility in it. It seems like that teachers still have the opportunity to get formative assessments. They still have the opportunity to do exit tickets and bell ringers and different things like that to kind of regulate and see where the kids are at. They have a 2-week window after the curriculum map says that they're supposed to be done, so there's some flexibility on that. So it really sounds great. I mean, it's definitely exciting. It'll be interesting to see how this is all going to play out. We look forward to getting back and seeing the results. Just wanted to thank you guys for being here this summer and helping me out.